If you are a pig farmer or planning to even venture into pig farming, this is something you absolutely need to know. This is a personal encounter. Normally, I wean my piglets at 6 weeks old. That is 1 month and 2 weeks. And everything goes smoothly. But this time, I decided to wean them earlier at 4 weeks old. I thought it would work just fine, but I quickly realized that I was wrong. Although they used to feed while they were with their mothers, as soon as I separated them, they completely refused to eat. It was like they had forgotten how to even eat completely. In no time, I noticed something very alarming. Some piglets started shaking. Others developed weak the back legs, and 3 of them were almost crippled. Initially, I thought the floor was too slippery, so I spread rice husk and corn flour to help them grip better. But that wasn't the problem. It was hunger causing all of this. Upon seeing this, I quickly released the sow back to the piglets, and as soon as they started breastfeeding, the shaking stopped. That was when I realized they weren't ready to be fully separated just yet. I decided to isolate the sows for intervals of about 8 hours. During these intervals, the piglets learned to eat independently on their own. Then I would bring the sows back for comfort and also encouragement. That is when the sows start eating, they begin to eat with their mother. This gradual weaning process made a huge difference. Over time, the piglets started eating more confidently on their own, and by the time they were fully weaned, that was after about 4 days, they were very active and healthy once again. But there was another challenge: feeding adjustment. While trying to boost their nutrition, I added ground whole soya beans to their feed. But those who attempted to eat it developed diarrhea, very watery too. It felt like I was fixing one situation and also creating another one at the same time. So I had to quickly remove the soya beans and switch to a simpler feed mix composed mainly of wheat bran, corn, fish meal, and ground rice grain. Remember, it's not rice bran, it's the rice grain. That broken rice we have in it. And guess what? The diarrhea stopped in less than a day. For those with weaker hind legs, I moved them to a smaller room where they could crowd together and stay warm. If you have been looking at my structure well, I am completely in the remote area, no electricity, so everything is done manual and we improvise on a number of things here. So I moved them to a smaller room where they could crowd together and stay warm. And after 2 days, they started recovering without any medication. Remember, I didn't give any medication whilst they were running the stool. So this is something that you need to also take note. Sometimes it's just not about the medication or any illness. It's the feed you are getting is wrong, or you are mixing certain things that is not helping them. So it causes digestive issue. You have to take note of it and avoid always trying to find medication for any situation on your farm. Okay, so with this, I just want to say sometimes warmth and a little extra care are all they needed. So if you are weaning earlier than usual, go for a gradual approach. So you isolate the sows for a few hours at a time to help the piglets adjust to the feeding independently. Remember, when they are with the sow that way, sometimes the sow itself is losing a lot of weight, and it is not recommended for piglets to stay with their mother for too long, due to the fact that at some stage they are just suckling, but there's nothing nutritious that they are getting from the sow. It is just air that they are sucking inside like that. So you have to ensure there's a gradual process and give the mother a chance. That is, you isolate the mother to be on her own, and once they start to miss each other, you bring them back. And also, deworming on the same day as weaning can also add unnecessary stress. This is something I just did recently, like I'm just sharing with you in the video. Always when I wean them, I wait for about 3 days before I deworm. But this day, the moment I weaned them, that very day I dewormed. And that was where the pig started shaking and they refused to even eat anything. So when it comes to feed, you have to keep it simple. Avoid overwhelming piglets with new ingredients, especially if they have not started taking it whilst they were with their mother. So you stick to very easily digestible options like the wheat bran and then the corn. For corn, it's a must you must get. That is the actual carbohydrate aspect of it, which we say the energy. And warmth or heat is also important for them, especially for piglets showing signs of weakness and also shaking. you need to be provided with some heat to ensure that they are able to survive on their own. So when you're weaning piglets, it can be very tough if you don't do it right. And the moment you start stressing them during the weaning stage, it means you have to do extra work to ensure that you stabilize their body before now they will begin to utilize the feed in which they take into building the muscles and growth you're looking for. Weaning should be done in a very gradual process. If they are too comfortable with the sow, you don't have to let the sow be away from them all of a sudden. You have to wait and do it in a gradual process. Like I said, I do separate them for about 6 hours to 8 hours, and then I bring them back. I do that for about 2 days, and they begin not to even notice their mother's presence, and that is where I let them live on their own separately. So remember, if you if you separate them from their mother, in the first week, you should deworm them, but that is wait for about 3 days to notice how they're feeding before you deworm them. And also with the soybean, what I noticed was that it wasn't well dried. That is also one of the causes. It wasn't well dried, and I ground it and mixed with the feed. That was where it also started causing these complications. But after they got dried also as well and mixed, I started feeding to them after they are completely weaned. None of them came back to show those signs and symptoms of those weaknesses anymore. And they were all moving on well as I'm talking to you now. So pig farming every day is just full of story. You go there, you get new encounter, and you have to find your own ways and means of solving it. But what I've come to realize is that for most of us, anytime we encounter a situation on the farm, quickly we want to get medications. In which case, most of them don't even require you to give even a drop of any medication. Just change some practices on your farm. If it is the feeding, you suspend it for some time so that they will begin to normalize their activities again, and then you shoot it. So you should always ensure there's a minimal use of medications, especially the antibiotics. So don't be too reliant and always consulting for medications. It's not going to help. Look at your environment. If they are running stew, especially piglets, usually it is as a result of cold. That is, if they have not been eating well, and all of a sudden you see them running diarrhea like that, usually it is the cold that they are encountering. And this often happens with those of us using a cemented floor. It becomes cold to the extent that now the piglets will start running diarrhea. So if they are not eating yet, but started running diarrhea, you should assess the environment and get to know that it is the cold around, and find a way to at least reduce the cold inside there, keep them warm. But if they have also started feeding, look at the feed. Well, sometimes because we want them to grow, we try to put too much of soybean and fish meal, which in essence continue to harm them. Okay, that is due to overstimulation of their digestive system, and then they start to run diarrhea. You see it very, very quietly like that. And you yourself, you're not going to feel okay when you see them like that. So, weaning piglets is a must. They can't always be with their sow because there must be a time they'll leave, and then the sow will be prepared for next pregnancy. But it should be done in the proper way, just so we don't stress the piglets too much. Just as I have just talked about you keeping the environment warm, especially for piglets, there are some of us that every morning we try to bath our pigs, irrespective of whether there are piglets inside or not, and as to whether the atmosphere is conducive enough for you to bath the piglets or not. We go ahead and bath them. That is very wrong. You have to always assess the environment. If it is cold, let the piglet be. Even if you want to wash the whole place, ensure the piglets are not bathed in that very early morning. But you can wait and maybe for afternoon, then you go and bath them. That one is somehow better than you washing them in the morning when they're already going through some cold. So in pig farming, I don't know if I stop, whether I'll be able to still get stories to be dragging with my mom on the farm. There was a time she said, Francis, after you have weaned the piglets from their mothers are not also eating. I've done my best. I've put a lot of fish meal. They are not eating. I increased the water. They are not They are not eating. I put more salt. They are not eating. I said, Mom, relax, okay? Even we as humans, it's not every time that you have the appetite to eat. So it's not compulsory for them to be eating every time. I said, no, but I have done the feed there. They are not eating. And fowls have entered the rooms and they are trying to scatter the whole feed in the room. I'm not comfortable. So yes, that's why you have to just drop something small for them. If they don't eat, just let it be there for them. If the fowls go to eat, hallelujah. If they also go to eat, it's fine. But you should just ensure that at least they know you have actually given them feed, just that they are not in the mood to eat. All right, so I just want you to know that it's not every time that your animals will be eating. There will be a period where they will not like to eat. It's fine. Allow them to be, especially with the sows when they have some piglets or you have weaned them. Sometimes they try not to eat at all, and you have to understand them. Not every time you need to give a lot of multivitamins to boost it. Understand? So after I told my mom this, that is not every time they eat. In about 5 days time, she said the pigs that will not eat now when she drops feed, they finish it even before she leaves the farm. I said yes, and it's timing.